Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another CO Sports Talk video. Today we have a big episode for you guys as we are predicting March Madness. It's the best time of the year, Oliver. It's March. March
Absolutely.
Madness is here. We just had a great conference tournament weekend. Spring sports are on, and you excited to get in these predictions, Oliver?
Super hype, man. My favorite time of year. Like you just said, no better tournament in the world. World Cup gives it a few games there, but uh I like March Madness. So yeah, super excited. Love filling out the bracket. Always been my favorite part about March Madness is seeing how your bracket does. I'm a one bracket kind of guy. I do my one bracket. Um,
Totally.
then I
I mean,
do
I
a
can't stand these like 20 bracket type of guys. Like, then you have nothing to root for. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right
oh,
because you're
one of
rooting
my
for multiple
brackets I had
outcomes.
this. Like, dude, come on.
Rooting for multiple outcomes doesn't make sense to me. So I stick my one bracket. And then each year I do a coin flip bracket as well, which had Xavier winning over Virginia in the final. But Vermont made the final four in that. Yeah, so completely random there. And yeah, so super excited. Let's get into it, man. We'll go game by game, region by region. Uh Regions are called top left, top right, bottom right, by the way.
We don't do the whole West stuff because it doesn't even make sense half the time. So.
I don't get that anyway. So yeah.
All right, let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with our brackets. We got mine and we got Oliver's. We already did our full ones, but it's just to show you, obviously. So yeah, we're gonna do the same ones, of course. No cheating. We only do one bracket, as you know. Uh,
Correct.
come on. So we'll do it kind of one round, region and region, and then we'll switch off back and
Yeah.
forth. So here we go. I will start with the top left. So in the top left, we have well, here we go. Alabama taking on the Southeastern Missouri versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Yes, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They may be a first-time tournament team. Good for them, but unfortunately, I'm going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide. That team has a lot of firepower, a lot more high recruits, and I mean, just the recruiting aspect, both sides. I mean, Brandon Miller, number one recruit in the 2022 class, versus I don't know if either of those teams are going to be able to compete with Alabama. Maryland versus West Virginia. This is a good game right here. I mean, I think this game really could go either way. Both teams were kind of in the middle, towards top of the pack in their respective conferences, but I'm leaning towards West Virginia in this match. I think Bob Huggins is a great coach. It's an experienced team. They did pretty well in the Big 12. Eric Stevenson, good guard. I'm going to go with the Mountaineers. San Diego State, Charleston. This is a popular upset pick. However, I'm happy picking the Aztecs. I think San Diego State is a really good team. They have Matt Bradley, the Cal transfer, who's been in college now for years. Very good defender, very good defensive team. I like San Diego State to get this win, but I wouldn't be surprised about Charleston. A lot of people are picking it. Same goes for this Furman Virginia game. A lot of people are picking it, but I think Virginia's too good defensively to get upset first round. I know that's ironic because they have been upset first round, but I don't see the Furman upset, also a popular one. However, I do see a little NC State upset as they take on Creighton, Oliver. A lot of people are hot on Creighton going far, but I actually like NC State coming out of the ACC to make a nice little push here. I think they're a solid team. Terquavion Smith is a very good guard for NC State, averaging over 17 points. I'm going to go with them. Baylor UCSB. This is a tough one because I really like this UCSB team. They've been the best team in the Big West, I believe, the conferences all year. And Baylor's been a solid team in the Big 12 as well. However, I am going to go with Baylor. UCSB is a good team. They have that Utah transfer on their team. They dominated. I mean, they dominated 27-7 in their conference. They beat Irvine to get in, but I'm going to go with Baylor. But it's going to be very close, I think. I like Utah State to beat Missouri. Utah State's a very good, experienced team, and I think Missouri's a little bit fraudulent. They had a good year, but I mean, they didn't make the finals or anything in the SEC tournament. Utah State experienced. They just lost to San Diego State in the Mountain West tournament final. I'm gonna go with them. And Arizona beat Princeton. Tough seeding for Princeton against the 2 seed in Sacramento. So that is my left region first round. Let's move on to Oliver.
All right, let's get into it. Yeah, like you said, don't have to think much about Alabama. Got them winning first round. Maryland, West Virginia. I've been high on Maryland. I'm continue being high on Maryland. I like them over West Virginia. Only thing that concerns me about Maryland is how bad they are on the road. And since this is a neutral site, it's tough. But they've been so good at home all year. Um, but they've shown up in big games all year round. Um, and I like them over West Virginia team that just has been pretty inconsistent. Um, I had Charleston for a very long time, but today I flipped it to San Diego State because I did a little more research. Um, San Diego State is just so good defensively, and they guard the three ball really well. Charleston shoots almost more threes than anyone in the country, and they don't actually make a lot of them. But and I obviously they are a 31 win team. It's a popular upset for a reason. They're a darn good basketball team, but I like the defensive prowess of San Diego State in the first round of the tournament because that's frankly what wins tournament games. Virginia Furman. I'm a Virginia D1 hater. I like Furman. I think Virginia is just not very good at all. I think a 4 seed is crazy for them. I think they should be like a 7. Um,
Mike Bothwell from Furman, look out, 18 points a game.
yeah. The thing about Furman is they average almost 82 points a game, and if they can get a lead against a Virginia team that can't score the basketball, they were gonna win this game. And I know doesn't Virginia likes low scoring games, and they're in every game that they play. It's always a close game no matter what. So I don't like that going into the tournament. So I like Furman. Very popular upset, but I'm firmly believing that. I'm not going to change that. Creighton
Furman.
NC State. I'm gonna I Furman believe in it. Creighton NC State. I like Creighton. Led by Bailey Shireman. NC State. Turk Smith is a freaking dog, dude. He'll probably be a lottery pick. But other than that, NC State doesn't have much going for them. I do like NC State a lot though. I was high on them when we talked about the ACC tournament. I think I had them going to the final. Unfortunate that they matched up with Creighton. If they matched up with like Iowa State, I'd pick them easily. But Creighton, I think, is a really good for a 6 seed. Baylor UCSB. As much as I like to pick UCSB, I got Baylor, Keontae George, and Flagger, and um, make up a really good backcourt.
And their experience. I mean, Baylor
Experienced team, yeah. People,
last
I
year
don't.
was
I'm not a
good.
big Baylor guy this year, but I think Baylor's always pretty good in March Madness. And I actually have Mizzou, um, because I don't know. I watched them play recently. They shoot the three ball a lot, and they score a lot. This is gonna be a high scoring game. This is gonna be in the 80s, 90s even. Utah State scores a lot. Mizzou scores a lot. Demoy Hodges for Mizzou impressed me along with Kobe Brown when I watched them. And yeah, so I do like Missouri. Stay tuned for more Missouri content coming soon. Uh, not gonna give like not content, but like who knows? They may make a little run in my tournament. And I like Arizona, Princeton. Princeton wasn't the best team in the Ivy. It was Yale, but they
Yeah.
ended up beating Yale. So Yale would have been like a 14 seed. So cool for Princeton, but they're not going to beat Arizona. So yeah, there's my top left.
All right, moving on to the top right here. Houston, the number one seed. And, this was interesting on Sunday because say Houston were to have beat Memphis, which they didn't. Um, I think that maybe Houston would have gotten the overall one seed. It would have been definitely a tight battle,
I think
but
so. Yeah.
obviously it was a no-brainer to give it to Alabama after they lost.
But I don't think they had Sasser in that game, so kind of unfair. But yeah,
Yeah, and we'll see about the tournament. Will he play? I know he was sore or something, but
they could
yeah,
probably rest them against Northern Kentucky and be fine. So I don't know.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, so here we go. Houston, Northern Kentucky. I got Houston. Marcus Sasser, as Oliver mentioned, it's been really good. But it's about Houston. It's their defensive play that's so good this year. Obviously, their record is very solid. 3 total losses, I think, this year, Oliver. Just preseason, and then they had one to Temple, I think, in the middle of the season, and then Memphis.
Yeah.
So they had a really good season and almost a overall number one. Auburn versus Iowa. I love to take the nines over the eights, but I like Iowa in this matchup. I think that, Fran McCaffrey is a very solid coach, and he's built his guys along with Keegan Murray's little brother, Chris Murray, and he averages 20. So I think this Iowa team is a very solid, experienced team. I'm going to take them. I know they lost to Richmond last year. Maybe they have some vengeance in mind. Miami versus Drake. Originally I was big on this Miami team, Isaiah Wong. However, they didn't impress me that much in this ACC tournament, and I actually like Drake, the most experienced team in college basketball with an average starting age of 23. They've had a very solid year. I mean, if you even look at this, Drake has beat Mississippi State, who's a tournament team, by 6. They're not just playing a horrible schedule. I like the straight team. We've seen them in the tournament 2 years ago, competed versus USC. I'm gonna go with a little upset against the ACC #1 seeded in that tournament, Miami. Indiana versus Kent State. I like IU. I think Trace Jackson is a very solid player. And IU is a very deep team. Great coaching staff they had there. Great team, and they're good against good teams. They beat Purdue twice, and Trace Jackson Davis is going to go down as one of the great Hoosiers. Iowa State versus Mississippi State or Pitt. I don't care who it is. I think Iowa State will win this. I'm a big Cyclone fan this year. I think they've done a really good job. They did a great job in the Big 12 tournament, making the semis. They lost to Kansas, but Iowa State's been a really solid team. It's probably the best team they've had since like George Niang 6 years ago. Then Xavier, Kennesaw State. I'm gonna go with Xavier, solid team out of the Big East. Kennesaw State, though, shout out to them. They made it beating Liberty, I think. A&M versus Pitt. Oh, this is a little bit of a controversial one, Oliver. Everyone is pissed about A&M seeding. However, I actually agree with it. They did not play a good conference play, and they ended the season very hot, making the SEC title game or championship game. However, they didn't get rewarded because they didn't schedule a good non-conference. So I agree with the seeding, and I actually like Penn State, who also ended the season hot, to beat them and a really good, solid matchup here. Last but not least, Texas will beat Colgate. Shout out Joe Schwab and go to Colgate. But Texas, really hot, just won the Big 12. I think they will have a close game, but they'll win it. All right.
So yeah, it's actually pretty different for me. I obviously have Houston. I had Iowa for a while, but I have Auburn now because I learned that this game is in Birmingham. Both these teams suck away from home, so you'd think, oh, there's no real advantage, but Birmingham being so close to the Auburn campus is going to be like a home game for Auburn, making it tough for Iowa to win away. So yeah, it's pretty much like a home game for Auburn, and the home game wins in college basketball a lot more often than the away team. So I do like Auburn here. Drake, Miami. I had Miami for a while, but I have Drake now. Because like the fact that you said, Miami didn't really impress me in the ACC tournament. They lost one of their best players going to the tournament. This tournament. Got injured in the ACC. Drake has Tucker DeVries, who just shoots the lights out. They have a bunch of guys who can shoot. Really good offensive team. Two really good offensive teams here. So it should be a high-scoring game, but I do like Drake. Kent State, I have beating Indiana. Wow. I do like Indiana with Jalen Hood-Schifino, Trace Jackson Davis, etc. But I really like this Zips team. I think that's their mascot, something like that.
Akron.
That's Akron. Kent State, I don't know, but I forgot. But it's something like that.
Golden Flashes.
Oh yeah, Flashes. Yeah, I mean this team defends, they score, and I think Indiana's a bit overseeded. I think they played well at stretches, but they kind of weren't as good towards the end. So I like Kent State. I don't like Iowa State, but I think they're just so good defensively. I think 8th in the country when I was doing my research, and so neither Mississippi State or Pitt are good offensively, and so I think this will be a low-scoring game that Iowa State ends up squeaking out. Xavier, I have over Kennesaw. Xavier's a good team, and they will win this pretty handily, I think. Texas A&M, Penn State. This is a tough matchup for me, but I actually haven't gone back and forth on this. I have had Texas A&M this whole time, and I will continue to have Texas A&M. I do think they're a really good basketball team. They rebound really well. Probably got snubbed out of last year's tournament, and so they're back for revenge here. So yeah, Texas A&M, and then I have Texas beating Colgate. But as much as Texas usually goes out early in the tournament, and Colgate is definitely a team that could upset someone, this is a different Texas team. I'll tell you that much. So I like them being Colgate, but hey, if it's a close game, I told you here first.
All right, down to the bottom left, other side of the bracket. I like Purdue over either of these teams. FDU shouldn't be allowed in the tournament. Didn't even win the conference tournament. Memphis FAU. This is an interesting one, as Memphis just won the American, beat one of the best teams in the country.
Best matchup of the first round, in my opinion.
Yeah, FAU is a fascinating team as they had a killer season. I think only 2 losses.
Yep.
So this will be
Three, yeah,
interesting.
41-3.
They didn't play anyone insane, obviously, throughout the year. However, I lean towards Memphis in this. I just think that Penny Hardaway squad is more ready at the end of the day. But it's going to be fascinating to see. 31-3, you said. But what makes me see is, I mean, FAU, they lost to Ole Miss by 13. So that's a test they had. Probably a worse team than Memphis, and they didn't get it done. So that's what I got. Duke Oral Roberts, another fascinating first round match. Oral Roberts is a team. Max Abmas, we saw him 2 years ago, still a beast, scoring tons. Connor Vanover, 7'5", and can shoot. I like them over Duke. I know Duke just won the ACC, and no matter who it was, Oral Roberts, I was gonna pick. And then when Duke happened, everyone was like, "Ooh, now we can't pick Oral Roberts."
Yeah.
Still gonna take them. And then Kyle Flipowski's been great, but I've just leaned towards this Oral Roberts squad in this matchup. It's gonna be a really solid game either way, but I'm gonna go with Oral Roberts. And another upset here, I like Louisiana. I'm done picking Tennessee when it comes to this tournament. I think that they're frauds. They proved it last year. And by losing to Michigan on the second weekend, I picked them deep every single year. And I like this Louisiana team. They had a huge win versus South Alabama to get into this tournament. Jordan Brown averages 19 points per game. I like Louisiana to get the upset versus Tennessee. Kentucky Providence, although this Flyers team, maybe Friars, sorry, is a good solid team. I like Kentucky to have some vengeance. Oscar Tshiebwe and Kentucky came back for a reason. I think they beat Providence. Kansas State takes care of business against Montana State. Boogie Ellis and USC get it done versus the Spartans of Michigan State. I like this USC team. I know they just lost to Arizona State, but I think they're a pretty long, big team. Boogie Ellis, Drew Peterson is a solid player. I like USC. And last but not least, I like Marquette to beat Vermont. Marquette, great year they had under Shaka Smart winning the Big East.
Facts. This is the region I'm least confident about, and I think I might end up changing stuff because as of now I have alt shock, which I know won't happen. So yeah, I Purdue. I the winner of this game I think goes on a run, but right now I just think Memphis matches up better athletically and stuff like that, so I'll pick them.
And
I
the
also said the same thing. I'll pick Oral Roberts over everyone, and then I saw that he got matched up against Duke, and Duke's flaming hot, playing like one of the best teams in the country right now, and they got a 5 seed, which is dangerous. And I just feel bad for Oral Roberts, but I got Duke. I don't like Tennessee either. I agree with you, but Louisiana I think is the weakest 13, and I think Tennessee just defensively is gonna tire them out. So I do like Tennessee. Kentucky, I like over Providence. I could see Providence winning that, I guess, but I think Kentucky has the best player in this matchup in Tshiebwe and Casey Wallace, etc. So, um, Kansas State, I have Montana State. I do like Kansas State a lot with um Keontae Johnson. Um, so I think they're a good team. I went back. I had USC initially. I have Michigan State now. Um, just because I don't think USC is that good. I don't think either team's that good. This is the battle of mid,
Yeah.
but uh, it's Izzo.
Tyson
So
Walker from MSU. I mean, that Hauser guy's still at MSU somehow.
yeah,
Uh,
Hauser's still there. Um, and then I like Marquette over Vermont. So yeah, all chalk, which I know won't happen, but
there's always that one region though.
yeah, I don't see it happening. But at the same time, I think the lower seeds are pretty weak in this, like lower as in I guess higher seeds. I don't know. It's always hard to, but like the higher numerical seeds are kind of weak. And if they're not weak, like Oral Roberts or FAU, they're facing really strong opponents. So I don't really see many upsets happening here, but there obviously will be. So
Yeah. All right. On to the last region. I like Kansas to take care of Howard. Arkansas, Illinois is a really good matchup. Two teams that I find very similar as well. Top of the pack in their really solid conferences, Big Ten and SEC. This was a tough one for me, but I am going to go with Arkansas. Illinois in the past hasn't gone very far in these March Madnesses. Arkansas has done a bit better in the last few years. Eric Musselman and his squad, I think, get it done against Illinois. And yeah, St. Mary's VCU. This is a tough one, but I do lean towards St. Mary's. The only hard part is, coming all the way from California to Albany, New York, playing maybe tough, but I think St. Mary's is a good team. Aiden Mahaney, freshman, WCC Freshman of the Year, very solid player. And Logan Johnson, Bay Area guy. Also hate him, he is. But yeah. UConn versus Iona. This is a common upset as well. I am going to lean towards UConn. I mean, they've been an underrated team all year. Iona, Rick Pitino, extremely experienced coach, got in some trouble at Louisville, but great coach for Iona. I am going to go UConn though, but that is a possible upset. Don't be surprised if that happens. And I'm going to take an upset here. I like ASU to beat TCU. If Nevada somehow wins, I can still see it happen. But right now I'm leaning towards ASU to beat TCU. TCU is a good team all year, but I think they're a little bit too well seeded here. And Arizona State's a hot team right now. So I like the Sun Devils to take care of business there, or not take care of business. But yeah, and Gonzaga to beat Grand Canyon. Gonzaga has been an almost underrated team because everyone's talking about how they're bad this year. They're still really solid. They won the WCC. They beat St. Mary's easily in that last game. Northwestern to beat Boise State in a very close game in Sacramento. I think that'll be a really good game. But Northwestern just has the better player in this matchup, I think, with Boo Buie, beast of a player in the Big Ten this year. And I like UNC to beat UNC Asheville. Player of the year, Jaime Jaquez. All right.
I've only one difference with you. So I got Kansas and Arkansas winning. Arkansas just is talent, like one of the most talented teams in the whole tournament. They just
Yeah, they have a lottery pick there, like 2 lottery picks.
two with Anthony Black and Nick Smith.
And Ricky Council's a beast.
Ricky Council will probably go first round, maybe early second. So yeah, a lot of talent there. They haven't really been able to piece it together, but I just think they're too good for Illinois. Illinois kind of was disappointing me this season. VCU, St. Mary's. I thought about this one. Both teams can't score, or both teams are really good defensively, not so good offensively. But St. Mary's does have the edge offensively. This is going to be a game in like the 40s, dude, 50s. Like it's going to be really low scoring, but I do like St. Mary's. And then UConn, I think, is a sneaky pick to win the whole thing.
Wow.
I think Iona is good, 13 seed. If they're playing like Virginia, yeah, easily, but UConn's too good. I do like ASU and Sasha Nevada. TCU just gets too cold offensively sometimes. They can't score. They rely on Mike Miles way too much. If he doesn't have a good game, they're out. I like Gonzaga. I agree with you said, like they're underrated. I like Boise State. Boise State and the Mountain West in general are historically bad in March Madness, but I think they've been lights out this year. Northwestern up and down. I do like Northwestern a lot though. I had them initially, but and then I have UCLA, but this game could be really close. UNC Asheville, like we mentioned before, is a really, really good 15 seed, dude.
Yeah. And you're taking Nevada over TCU also if they win?
That I would have to look at it again.
Yeah,
But
I also looked at it like it's ASU.
I see it as ASU. So
It could be, and I was close to that Boise State one too. I mean, the Mountain West, you're right, they don't do that well in March Madness, but they are an underrated conference in the actual regular season where I mean, they can this year maybe just as deep as the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 was pretty not very deep this year. 2 insanely good teams, and then 2 other good teams, and the rest is pretty bad this year. So yeah. All right, let's move on to the next round. On to round 2. Here is my top left. West Virginia versus Alabama. I think this matchup is a solid matchup here. You know, it will be definitely a close one, but I am going to go with Alabama in this tight one. I think that they're ultimately the better team with the better players. However, West Virginia, I think, is good, really good guard play. San Diego State, Virginia, I mean, this may be 30-20, this matchup, 40-41. I mean, they're both very solid defensive teams, and I like the Aztecs to pull it out. I like this team. I think they've played good competition. That's not a worry when they go into play Virginia. And I think they're going to get it done. They have a really experienced team. And as you said, Virginia always is in these close games. They struggled a little bit to close them out. So I think they'll struggle here against SDSU, and the Aztecs will win it. NC State versus Baylor, big upset here. I like the Wolfpack. I think Baylor's good, but they're a tad bit fraudulent, and they'll be exposed here, similar to how they were last year against and North Carolina in the round of 32. And as you said, Baylor's a really talented team, but they're also kind of young. So I think that NC State will win this. Utah State versus Arizona is going to be a shootout. I see this game going to overtime, but I like Arizona to prevail, similar to how they did last year against TCU in that round of 32 game. This will be a close game, though. Utah State can shoot the lights out. They're a really solid team, and they're going to have a solid crowd. and Sacramento, but Arizona will as well. U of A fans travel just as good as like BBN, Big Blue Nation fans. I mean, this Arizona fans, especially on the West Coast, they will be there. They call Vegas McHale North because they're always at that Vegas tournament winning. San Diego State versus Alabama, ladies and gentlemen, huge upset here. San Diego State upsets freshman phenom and this Alabama Crimson Tide team, and the experienced team gets the best of them. Huge upset here. I just like it to happen. I think this Alabama team is a Sweet 16 out this year. I just don't see it with them going far. I'll explain a bit more later. And this one here will also be a close game, but I like Arizona to pull through. So that is my Elite Eight, and Arizona beats San Diego State, a West Coast matchup, to make it to the Final Four. I'm always hot on this Arizona Wildcat team. However, this year, I think they really have found a solid groove. They just won the Pac-12. They're playing good ball. And I mean, they also have a really solid player in Azuolas Tubelis, 20 points per game, Oliver. So I like Arizona to make the Final Four, but they're going to barely get through there, I think. I mean, that Utah State game, watch out.
Yeah, definitely. Scroll up a little bit.
Oh, shoot, my bad.
So I have Alabama beating Maryland. I think Alabama's the best team in the country. Furman San Diego State, again, Furman's a good offensive team, but they play another good defensive team. This time I think San Diego State gets the best of them. Creighton Baylor, I like Creighton. Yeah, again, not big on Baylor, but they have good guard play, but they just don't have a good big. They can match up with Shireman and the rest of those guys in blue. And then right now I have Mizzou beating Arizona. I don't know if I'll change that. I probably will end up changing that because Arizona did look pretty good in the Pac-12 tournament, but I really like the way Mizzou plays. I think they're a team that is built to go on a run with just crazy offense. But yeah, they can't really defend, so we'll see. I do have Alabama over San Diego State, and I have Creighton over Missouri.
I like that Creighton Elite Eight run. I mean, I have them losing first round, but I can see that winner of this game going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think the winner of that beats Baylor regardless.
Yeah. But I like that. All right. So who do you have going to the Final Four?
Oh yeah, I have Alabama.
Okay. All right. Moving on to this side over here. Houston and Iowa. I think this game is going to be close. Very close, actually. Mid-scoring game. Iowa likes to score, but Houston not as much. But Houston just gets it done. People underrate how much college basketball experience this Houston team has. You know, just in the past few years, they made it pretty far in the tournament. 2 years ago, they were in the Final Four. They played Baylor in that Final Four game. They've had some really solid runs in the last few years. This Houston team is a good team, experienced team. I could see them doing well. Drake, Indiana, a little Iowa, Indiana matchup here. I like Indiana to get it done. I think that Jalen Hood, Miller Kopp, and obviously Trace Jackson Davis is a baller. So I like this Indiana team. It's nice when they're good, obviously. They haven't made it that far in a minute, too. Iowa State, Xavier. I like Iowa State to get a little upset against Xavier. You know, I just think a Big 12, Big East matchup is bound to happen. And this Xavier team is very solid. Lost the Big East finals to Marquette. However, they lost kind of bad. And Iowa State lost on Friday night in the semifinals to make it. However, I am going to go with Iowa State. As I said, I think Jaron Holmes is going to be the key factor here. 16 points the other night. Good player for Iowa State. And yeah, so I'm going to go with Iowa State. And then Penn State, Texas. Close game as well, but I am going to go with UT to get it done here in a solid game, close game here. Iowa State versus UT. Big 12 matchup. They just played, matter of fact. And I will go with Texas to get it done in a very narrow Big 12 matchup here. Carr from Texas is an absolute baller. And I like Indiana to upset Houston and Houston's run. I think IU scores too much for Houston to handle in an offense versus defensive showdown. And IU makes the Final Four. First time in a minute, but I just think this team's loaded with weapons. You know, they have the young guard play that they need, and they also have the experienced star they need. It's a perfect dynamic along with guys that can shoot. You know, I really like this IU team, and I like them to make the Final Four. And Oliver doesn't even have them win in the first round. So big difference here.
It could come back and bite me for sure.
Yeah, or it could to me.
Yeah, true. One of us is gonna get bit. I like Houston over Auburn. Houston's really good. I have Kent State winning again over Drake this time.
Wow.
Um,
Kent
it's gonna
State.
go either way, but I like I said, I just really love the way this Kent State team plays. I have Xavier over Iowa State. Iowa State doesn't have Tyrese Hunter anymore. He transferred to Texas. So in your matchup, that would be the Tyrese Hunter revenge game. But yeah, he was their
Yeah.
best player last year when they were in the tournament and lost him. So this game is going to be really, really, really good. I could see this going either way in A&M Texas, but I do have Texas for now. I just think the way they battled through adversity, losing their head coach, it's forced them to mature, play as a
Yeah.
team. They're
And
really
this is such a big matchup, not only due to like the basketball sense, but historically, these two teams. I mean, they Texas A&M was in the Big 12 for years, and when they left the Big 12, that was a huge deal in that football season, as they were not going to play ever again. They were huge rivals, so this would be a huge rivalry match if they played.
facts. It would be. Uh, and then hear me out. Houston and Kent State played earlier in the year. Houston won by only 5 points. Give me Kent State.
Wow, Kent State to the late, dude. That's not a bad take though. St. Peter's last year. I mean, could happen.
Yes. But I do like them, man, as my Cinderella this year. I just think they played each other before, they know each other, and I think Kent State could get the edge in tournament play.
Sincere Carey
Facts. Sincere carries him. And then I have Texas over Xavier. Really like this Texas team.
and Texas over Kent State. I assume.
Yeah, I do have Texas over Kent State.
The St. Peter's of last year for Oliver is Kent State this year. See it, man. They're in a good conference too. They're not. That's not the MAC isn't that fraudulent.
Until until Indiana beats them first round, and then I'm just screwed.
Purdue versus Memphis, really solid matchup. So this Memphis team is a fascinating team because last year we saw Memphis play Gonzaga second round. It was also an 8v1 matchup, just like last year, and they were so close to beating Drew Timme and Gonzaga, who eventually got upset the next round. So I could see something similar happening here, but I like Purdue to just hold on, similarly how Gonzaga just held on last year. But man, watch out for that Memphis team. Kendrick Davis, 22 points a game, dog. Oral Roberts, Louisiana, similar matchup as Oliver had to like that Kent State versus Drake matchup, 12-13. But I'm gonna go with Oral Roberts. Obviously, Oral Roberts is way more experienced in March Madness. We know what they did 2 years ago, and they were that year's Cinderella team. And I mean, Max Abmas is one of the best scorers college basketball has seen in a long time. He is a dog, and he's done it before, as I just said. Kentucky versus Kansas State, really solid matchup here, actually. Kansas State is a team that can compete. They beat Kansas this year. They're a solid team. And I mean, also Johnson from Kansas State, I believe his name is. Yeah, Keontae Johnson. Shout out to him as, I mean, he had that horrible injury when he was at Florida. And
Yeah.
now he's averaging like 18 points a game. So he's a beast. But I am going to go with Kentucky to win this one. I think that Coach Cal is one of the best coaches. And USC Marquette will be very close, but I'm going to go with Marquette. The Golden Eagles have just been balling this year. Purdue versus Oral Roberts, very close, but I am going to like Zach Edey and Oral Roberts. I mean, Zach Edey at the end of the day, what a matchup this would be. Zach
Yeah, I
Edey,
was
Connor.
about to say battle of the Giants, man.
I just think Zach Edey is physically much stronger than Connor Vanover. I've seen Connor Vanover play in person. Very skinny dude. However, really good player at the same time. And Marquette, Kentucky, insane battle right here. I like this Marquette team, Cam Jones, but I'm going with the big blue nation to make it to the Elite Eight. I like this Kentucky team a lot. And Purdue to ultimately make it. Zach Edey and Purdue get a little revenge from last year and make the Final Four. I'm liking Purdue this year. I know they've lost some big games, but I think they're going to end up doing fine this tournament.
Yeah, wow. Ours pan out pretty different, man. I have Memphis beating Purdue. I don't think all one seeds are going to make it that far. There's usually one that leaves early. I think that
Yeah.
this year it's Purdue. Memphis has just been one of the best teams in the country, frankly, since the new year. Their starting lineup is composed of all seniors. Kendrick Davis is a beast. Their experience is the same team from last year that almost beat Gonzaga. So I like them. I have Duke over Tennessee. Tennessee might even lose first round. I just don't think that's why I'm not gonna pick Louisiana because I think Duke wins regardless. To me, and then Or if it's Oral Roberts, I think Oral Roberts wins. I have Kansas State over Kentucky. Love this Kansas State team. They've been so good. They started off so hot and they've pretty much maintained that all year. And then whoever Marquette faces, they'll win. I like Marquette not that much, but I just think Michigan State USC is pretty weak. I have Duke beating Memphis. Two really hot teams. I think just Duke talent wise is going to be a bit better. And then I have Kansas State over Marquette. And then Duke advances in my Final Four.
Wow, I actually like that. Even though I have them losing first round, but I mean they're hot right now. They just won one of the best conferences. Kansas, Arkansas will be a dogfight, Oliver. I mean, the lottery picks in this game will be popping to the roof. I do like Kansas though. I just think Jalen Wilson, Grady Dick, this team is just a tad more experienced. And Arkansas, that team can rebound the ball. They're a really solid team, well coached. But I'm going to go with Kansas.
Just a bit inexperienced. Too
Yeah,
many freshmen.
so many freshmen. I mean, McDonald's All-American game, they would ball out. But I think Jalen Wilson is one of the best players in the country. People forget that team has national championship experience. On to St. Mary's versus UConn. Wow, this would be a dogfight, Oliver. I mean, a close game for sure. Low scoring, I feel. But I'm going to go St. Mary's to upset them in Albany, New York. I know UConn would have more fans there for sure. But I really like the St. Mary's team to win on the big stage sometimes. While the back against their walls, money on UConn, a lot of people have. I actually like St. Mary's to go in there and upset them. Logan Johnson, remember the name. He's going to break out this tournament. West Coast people already know him, but I think the whole country will know him after this tournament. ASU versus Gonzaga will be really close, but I'm going to go with Gonzaga to get it done. Julian Strawther and Drew Timme. Northwestern UCLA can also be close, but I'm going to go with the Bruins. Bruins versus Gonzaga. What a good matchup this will be. I mean, we saw them face last year with Hawkes versus Chet Holmgren preseason. I think UCLA got them this time. I think they will do it again. I really do like this UCLA team, and you can't talk about how they're not experienced. That's for sure. When they have Tiger Campbell has been in the Final Four, Jaime Hawkes has been in the Final Four, and a good coach in Mick Cronin. They had a tough injury though, Oliver, and that guard, what's his name?
Clark, yeah.
Jalen Clark, best defender in the country, some say. St. Mary's, Kansas. I like Kansas to end St. Mary's magic. Kansas is an unreal team. DeJuan Harris Jr., shout out. And I like Kansas to win this Elite Eight. Amazing blue blood matchup against UCLA. So my Final Four is Arizona, Purdue, Kansas, and Indiana. And I feel like this is somewhat realistic. In the past, I'd like to have like a 10 or 8 make it. But
too risky.
I never have more than 2 1s, but I'm trying to go a bit more realistic this year with 2 1s in it, 1-4 who kind of makes it around, and 1-2, which tends to be the realistic. And then the big seeds kind of fall in the Elite Eight, which we've seen in the past, and that would be like these. I'm going a bit more chalky than usual. It hurts my soul to do so, but I'm trying to not get last this year. That was embarrassing last year.
Yeah, exactly. If you want like a competitive bracket, it's what you got to do. I'd have Kansas over Arkansas just due to experience standpoint. I have UConn over St. Mary's. I have all chalk in this. I think this is pretty chalky region, and it's going to be pretty chalky.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I think the top 4 seeds are really, really good. Like,
they are.
I think UCLA is the best 2 seed. I think Gonzaga is the best 3. I think UConn's the best 4. Like,
I don't think there's that many frauds really in this, except like TCU. I feel like it's a little fraud.
Right, exactly. So I just
even
think
the 8-9s are both solid teams. It's a good region right here.
I think it's a pretty easy one to predict. And I have UConn actually beating Kansas. The analytics love UConn, man, because they're so good offensively and defensively. They just have the tools to win, to make runs. And then
I have no idea who I'm winning, by the way. I was thinking it was gonna be Kansas.
Yeah. And then I have UCLA beating Gonzaga. Just Gonzaga cannot defend to save their lives, but they're the best offensive team in the country, I believe. But UCLA is like the second best defensive team in the country. So it's gonna be they'll be able to neutralize them and then be able to score on Gonzaga on the other end. So I do like UCLA, and then I have UCLA going to the Final Four.
UCLA to the Final Four. I love it. Huge UCLA guy. It pained me not to pick them, But I mean, what was it on that? No call.
UCLA is going to be popular to the Final Four, I think, this year, just because they've done it before. But I really do think this team's good. So my Final Four is Alabama, Duke, Texas, UCLA.
And that once again is very realistic. 2 2s, 1-1, and a 5. a 5, that's pretty damn good.
Hey, keep in mind though, since 2012, there's only been 1 year where it hasn't been a 7 seed or higher in the Final Four, and that was 2019, and the
Was
highest seed was, and the lowest or highest seed was a
it?
5. So it is pretty unlikely there's not one Cinderella team,
Yeah.
um, but honestly, this year I feel like this is pretty realistic.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so moving on. Here we go. We are on to the next round. Um, Arizona and Purdue. I think this will be a dogfight, man. Arizona is a huge team, but Purdue, man, Zach Edey is a dog himself. I am gonna lean towards Arizona, and I think this game will come down to the fourth quarter. And I mean, in past experience, Arizona, when it comes to a big moment, just like they did Saturday night against UCLA, have balled out. They find a way to win. Purdue, on the other hand, I feel like tend to choke a little bit in these big moments, and that's what's going to come down to. I feel like Purdue would be up at halftime in this Final Four game, but Arizona would ultimately find a way. And with Kansas and Indiana, man, I want to pick IU so bad, but I think Kansas ends up getting it done versus Indiana, ruining Indiana's chances at a championship. And Kansas wins this matchup against Arizona in a really, really strong matchup and goes back to back. I love this Kansas team, man. Grady Dick, but it really is going to come down to Jalen Wilson, I think. I think he's one of the best players and most experienced players in this tournament.
Facts.
It could go either way.
Yeah, DeJuan Harris, super underrated guard too.
Yes.
I have Alabama. Like I've said, I think they're the best team in the country. I think they end Duke's run as a 5 seed. Brandon Miller, the best player in the country to me. Um, and Texas UCLA is gonna be a really good game. I do have UCLA making the final though.
Uh,
With Hawkes, Campbell. Again, no Jalen Clark sucks, but I think they can still do it. And then I have Alabama as my champion. So we both have 1 seeds as our champions, but different ones. I hope Alabama isn't like a Virginia situation where everyone picks them and they don't even make it out the first round or something. But I think really, really talented team. Noah Clowney, Brandon Miller, etc. So and Javon Quinterly. Uh, really good team. They they live and die by the 3, which is a bit concerning because if they have an off night or something, it'll be tough to
yeah.
win. But I just think they're so talented. So yeah, there we go. Got it
Any
back.
upsets that you didn't predict that will happen, but you can say I told you so if it somehow does happen?
Besides UNC Asheville, uh,
I mean, I'll say UCSB.
yeah, and I was gonna say Montana State over Kansas State for sure. Maybe.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I'll say UCSB for mine. And man, you got to look out for some of these low seed teams. Obviously
Oh,
Charleston, but everyone's already saying that.
yeah.
And, or just like a sneaky 11 team to go far. Like that oftentimes does
Yeah, I feel like
happen.
there's always a first 4 team like Notre Dame last year,
Yeah, like
UCLA,
Pitt could casually just go to the Sweet 16.
but Pitt's just
Somewhere
been
not.
bad recently. They kind of crawled into
Yeah,
the
they're
tournament.
fraudulent. But yeah.
Yeah,
So there you have it, though, folks. And FAU, watch out for them. That winner of this 8-9 matchup is going to give Purdue a run for their money,
I
no matter.
think whoever wins that goes to the Sweet 16. Yeah. So um,
Yeah, great episode though. I cannot wait for March Madness. And at the end of the day, no matter who what we predict, Oliver, we're gonna be wrong for the most part, and that's what makes March Madness so great.
absolutely. Usually, if you pick which mascot you like better, you'll probably do better than us.
Yeah.
So then it's the end of the day, it's how March Madness works. But appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. And once again, join the our group, by the way. Link
CO
in bio.
Sports Talk. Link in bio, and it's CO Sports Talk.
Eco
Everyone
Sports Talk. I
join
think it's
it.
a public group. You can only put one entry in. It locks on Thursday, so join now. Um,
Winner gets to come on the show. Luke Young won 2 years in a row. He's going for a three-peat, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has to stop that guy.
back. Someone please dethrone him. So there we go. See you guys later. Peace.
All right, we'll catch you.